Let's continue the story. The Roadside Deception. Wednesday, the 27th of May, 1914. Peeblesshire, Scotland. Ship. Uh-oh. I'm guessing these are people after us. Just about midday, a big car stole down the hill, glided past and drew up 100 yards beyond. Its 3 occupants descended as if to stretch their legs and sauntered towards me. 2 of the men I'd seen before from the window of the Galloway Inn, one lean, sharp and dark, the other comfortable and smiling. The third had the look of a countryman, a vet, perhaps, or a small farmer. He was dressed in ill-cut knickerbockers, and the eye in his head was as bright and wary as a hen's.
Morning! That's a fine, easy job of yours.
I slowly and painfully straightened my back after the roadman, spat vigorously after the manner of the low Scot, and regarded them steadily before replying.
Poor jobs, and there's better. I would rather hae yours, sitting all day on your hinderlands in 8 cushions. It's you and your muckle cors that wreck my roads. If we all had our richts, you should be made to mend what you break.
The bright-eyed man was looking at the a newspaper lying beside Turnbull's bundle.
I see you get your papers in good time.
Aye, in good time. Seeing that paper come out last Saturday, I'm just 6 days late.
He picked it up, glanced at the superscription, and laid it down again.
You've a fine taste in boots. These were never made by a country shoemaker.
They were not. They were made in London. I got they through the gentleman that was here last year for the shooting. What was his name now?
I scratched the forgetful head.
Let us get on. This fellow is all right. Let us get on. This fellow is all right.
Okay.
Did you see anyone pass early this morning? He might be on a bicycle or he might be on foot.
I very nearly fell into the trap and told the story of a bicyclist hurrying past in the grey dawn. Yeah, don't know what happened with the sound there.
Wasn't up very early. You see, my daughter was married last night, and we keep it up late. I opened the house door about 7, and there was nobody on the road then. Since I come up here, there has just been the baker and the Rackhill herd, besides you gentlemen.
Because if I'd said, definitely there was a cyclist, then they might have gone, oh, well, we know that he threw it in, so he didn't have it here, so he's lying to us. Right. One of them gave me a cigar, which I smelt gingerly and stuck in Turnbull's bundle. They were out of sight in 3 minutes, and my heart leapt with an enormous relief. I went on wheeling my stones. It was as well, for 10 minutes later the car returned, one of the occupants waving a hand to me. Those gentry left nothing to chance. I finished Turnbull's bread and cheese, and pretty soon I had finished the stones. Because obviously they're kind of like, well, maybe this is the one we're after, and he's run for it. Maybe this is Hannah. And it is. But, aha, yeah, you fooled him. Blackstone henchman, eh? The next step was what puzzled me. I had a notion that the cordon was still tight round the glen, and that if I walked in any direction I should meet with questions. Get out I must. No man's nerve could stand more than a day of being spied upon. Then, suddenly...
Excuse me. May I trouble you for a light?
By an amazing chance, I knew him. His name was Marmaduke Jopley, and he was an offence to creation. Marmaduke Jopley, what do we know about him? First meeting. I had a business introduction to his firm when I first came to London, and he was good enough to ask me to dinner at his club. There he showed off at a great rate, and pattered about his duchesses till the snobbery of the creature turned me sick. I asked a man afterwards why nobody kicked him, and was told that Englishmen reverenced the weaker sex. Oh dear. Reputation. He was a sort of blood stockbroker who did his business by toadying eldest sons and rich young peers and foolish old ladies. He would crawl a mile on his belly to anything that had a title or a million. Anyhow, there he was now, nattily dressed in a fine new car, obviously on his way to visit some of his smart friends, and he hadn't a clue who I was. Well, we'll jump in. Seems that's the only option.
Hello, Jopley. Well met, my lad.
Who the devil are you?
My name's Hanny, from Rhodesia, you remember?
Good God, the murderer!
Just so. And there'll be a second murder, my dear, if you don't do as I tell you. Give me that coat of yours, that cap too.
Are we just nicking people's clothes at this point? He did as I bid, for he was blind with terror. Over my dirty trousers and vulgar shirt I put on his smart driving coat, which buttoned high at the top and thereby hid the deficiencies of my collar. I stuck the cap on my head and added his gloves to my get-up. The dusty roadman in a minute was transformed into one of the neatest motorists in Scotland. On Mr. Jopley's head I clapped Turnbull's unspeakable hat and told him to keep it there.
Now, my child, sit quite still and be a good boy. I mean you no harm. I'm only borrowing your car for an hour or two. But if you play me any tricks, and above all, if you open your mouth, as sure as there's a God above me, I'll wring your neck. Savvy?
Just don't hurt me.
I think you're enjoying this far too much, Richard. I enjoyed that evening's ride. Thought so. As the dark fell, I turned up a side glen into an unfrequented corner of the hills. Soon the villages were left behind, then the farms, and then even the wayside cottage. Here we stopped, and I obligingly reversed the car and restored to Mr. Jopley his belongings.
1,000 thanks. There's more use in you than I thought. Now be off and find the police.
I'll get you.
Get in line! A lot of people are after me now. As I sat on the hill, I reflected on the various kinds of crime I had now sampled. Contrary to general belief, I was not a murderer, but I had become an unholy liar, a shameless impostor, and a highwayman with a marked taste for expensive motor cars. Continue the story. The game is up. Unfortunately not afoot. It's up. Thursday the 28th of May, 1914, Peeblesshire, Scotland. We need to be thinking about heading down south again, don't we? At some point. I spent the night on the hillside. It was a cold business, for I had neither coat nor waistcoat. These were in Mr. Turnbull's keeping, as was Scudder's little book, my watch, and, worst of all, my pipe and tobacco pouch. Only my money accompanied me in my belt, and about half a pound of ginger biscuits in my trouser pockets. I supped off half those biscuits, and by worming myself deep into the heather got some kind of warmth. And the moon, it shineth. So far I have been miraculously lucky. My chief trouble was that I was desperately hungry. I lay and tortured myself, for the ginger biscuits merely emphasized the aching void, with the memory of all the good food I had thought so little of in London. We're going to have a dream sequence now? No. In longing hopelessness for these dainties, I fell asleep. Someone finds you, don't they? I'm guessing. With a title like The Game is Up, I'm guessing that's the case. I woke very cold and stiff about an hour after dawn. It took me a little while to remember where I was. I raised myself on my arms and looked down to the valley, and that one look set me lacing up my boots in mad haste. There were men below, not more than a quarter of a mile off, spaced out on the hillside like a fan and beating the heather. Marmee had not been slow in looking for his revenge. Uh-oh. I scrambled to the top of the ridge. My pursuers were patiently quartering the hillside and moving upwards. Keeping behind the skyline, I ran for maybe half a mile. Then I showed myself. The line of search had changed its direction. I pretended to retreat over the skyline, but instead went back the way I had come. In 20 minutes I was behind the ridge overlooking my sleeping place. The police had evidently called in local talent to their aid, and the men I could see had the appearance of herds or gameskeepers. The exercise had warmed my blood, and I was beginning to enjoy myself. I trusted to the strength of my legs, but I was well aware that those behind me would be familiar with the lie of the land, and that my ignorance would be a heavy handicap. My stratagem had given me a fair start, call it 20 minutes, and I had the width of a glen behind me before I saw the first heads of the pursuers. From that viewpoint I had the satisfaction of seeing the pursuit streaming up the hill at the top of the glen on a hopelessly false scent. It began to seem less of a game. Those fellows behind were hefty men on their native heath. Looking back, I saw that only 3 were following direct, and I guessed that the others had fetched a circuit to cut me off. I resolved to get out of this tangle of glens to the pocket of moor I had seen from the tops. I put on a great spurt and got off my ridge and down into the moor before any figures appeared on the skyline behind me. We clambering over fences. Clearly the road ran to a house, and I began to think of doing the same. Run. That was simple. I can draw straight lines. Approach. Oh dear. That may have given away our position and what we're planning on doing, or where we are. I saw the face of an elderly gentleman meekly watching me from within the glass veranda. Seated at the knee-hole desk was the benevolent old gentleman with some papers and open volumes before him. His face was round and shiny, with big glasses stuck on the end of his nose, and the top of his head was as bright and bare as a glass bottle.
You seem in a hurry, my friend.
I nodded towards the window. It gave a prospect across the moor and revealed figures half a mile off straggling through the heather.
Ah, I see. A fugitive from justice, eh? Well, we'll go into the matter at our leisure. Meantime, I object to my privacy being broken in upon by the clumsy rural policeman. Go into my study and you will see 2 doors facing you. Take the one on the left and close it behind you. You will be perfectly safe.
Once again, I had found an unexpected sanctuary. Too easy, I fear. The master of the house, sitting in a deep armchair, now regarded me with curious eyes. What do we tell him, Annie? What do we tell him?
Are they gone?
They have gone. I convinced them that you'd cross the hill. I do not choose that the police should come between me and one whom I am delighted to honor. This is a lucky morning for you, Mr. Richard Hanning.
How do you know who I am? As he spoke, his eyelids seemed to tremble and to fall a little over his keen, grey eyes. In a flash, the phrase of Scudder's came back to me when he had described the man he most dreaded in the world. He said that he could hood his eyes like a hawk. Oh no. I saw that I'd walked straight into the enemy's headquarters. Oh dear. Throttle. Is that the plan? Reach over and try and throttle him. He seemed to anticipate my intention, for he smiled gently and nodded to the door behind me. I turned and saw 2 menservants who had me covered with pistols. Oh great. He knew my name, but he had never seen me before. And as the reflection darted across my mind, I saw a slender chance.
I don't know what you mean. And who are you calling Richard Hanning? My name's Ainsley.
So, but of course you have others. We won't quarrel about a name.
Yeah, he's not that stupid. I was pulling myself together now, and I reflected that my garb, lacking coat and waistcoat and collar, would at any rate not betray me. I put on my surliest face and shrugged my shoulders.
I suppose you're going to give me up after it all. And I call it a damn dirty trick. Oh, God. I wish I'd never seen that cursed motor car. Here's the money and be damned to you.
He opened his eyes a little.
No, I shall not give you up. My friends and I will have a little private settlement with you. That is all.
Eep.
You know a little too much, Mr. Hanny. You're a clever actor, but not quite clever enough.
He spoke with assurance, but I could see the dawning of a doubt in his mind.
For God's sake, stop jawing. Everything is against me. I haven't had a bit of luck since I came on shore at Leith. What's the harm in a poor devil with an empty stomach picking up some money he finds in a bust-up motor car? That's all I've done, and for that, I've been chivied for 2 days by those blasted bobbies over those blasted hills. I tell you, I'm fair sick of it. You know what you like, old boy? Ned Ainsley's got no fight left in him.
I could see that the doubt was getting. Why do you doubt this? I tried to throttle you.
Will you oblige me with the story of your recent doings?
I can't, Governor. I've not had a bite to eat for 2 days. Give me a mouthful of food, and then you'll hear God's truth.
Oh, pie. Eat. I wolfed them down like a pig, or rather, like Ned Ainsley, for I was keeping up my character. Then I told him my story. Do we get another film? We get another film! God's truth. Inverted commas. God's truth. So we headed up. Ned Ainsley was a common Londoner who had arrived at Leith a week ago and was making his way overland to his brother at Wigtown. There's the motor car. He found 3 sovereigns lying on the seat of a bust-up car and another on its floor. There was nobody there or any sign of an owner, so Ainsley pocketed the cash. So we're heading to a bakery by the looks of it. He tried to change a sovereign at the baker's, but the woman cried on the police. Police! Wielding a rolling pin, the most fiendish of weapons. A little later... ... Leaving them to dry, is he just... leaving them behind? Okay. Running along a wall! Go! The police had tracked him down and Ainsley was on the run across Scotland. Oh dear. Accidentally clicking buttons. Clicking buttons is bad.
I can have the money back for a fat lot of good it's done me. Those perishers are all down on a poor man. Now, if it had been you, Governor, that had found the quids, nobody would have troubled you.
You're a good liar, Hanny.
Stop fooling, damn you. I tell you, my name's Ainsley, and I've never heard of anyone called Annie in my born days. I'd sooner have the police than you with your Hannays and your monkey-faced pistol tricks. No, Governor, I beg pardon. I don't mean that. I'm much obliged to you for the grub, and I'll thank you to let me go now the coast's clear.
It was obvious he was badly puzzled. He'd never seen me, and my appearance must have altered considerably from my
I
photographs.
do not propose to let you go. If you are what you say you are, you will soon have a chance of clearing yourself. If you are what I believe you are, I do not think you will see the light much longer.
He rang a bell, and a third servant arrived from the veranda.
I want the Lanchester in 5 minutes. There will be 3 to luncheon.
You'll know me next time, Governor.
Karl, stecke diesen in den Lagerraum. Und bis ich zurückkomme, bist du mehr vor ihm verantwortlich.